School culture is that underlying set of norms and values, rituals and traditions that shape the organization. And school culture is an enormously powerful and influential part of a school. So I think it's important that every school leader learn how to read the culture, learn how to identify the underlying norms and values, ceremonies and traditions that make up the culture. Who are the mascots? What song do people sing about the culture? And the second is to assess the culture. They need to understand what are the positive parts of the culture, the things that are supporting student learning and student development, connections with the community, and what are parts of the culture that may be making that more difficult. And the third thing is that they need to shape the culture, reinforce and nurture the really positive side. I mean, sometimes some schools, they work so hard that they don't take time to sit back and celebrate their accomplishments, share stories with each other, and find times to encourage and support each other's hard work. Mm-hmm. The human resource side of organizations, Bowman and Deal have a whole book called Reframing Organizations, and the relationships between people, the level of trust, the collegiality between people is crucial. And it can't be just one-to-one. It has to really be a cultural expectation to work together, play together, and serve kids together. I've actually done some studies, case studies of places where professionals work in very challenging settings, such as burn centers and military settings, and where the work is enormously important and enormously challenging. It's absolutely crucial that people find a way to have fun together, to build their social relationships, because it rejuvenates their own energy and their own motivation, and it helps them be more supportive of their colleagues during hard times. Mm-hmm. There are organizations across every field, whether it's merchandising or sales or education, where cultures are not positive, where they're toxic or they're negative, and new principals going into a culture that are less than positive need to identify those with their staff as things that are being barriers to success, whether it's hostile language between teachers or a lack of strong belief in how kids can learn. So you have to work with your staff to identify those things, and then you have to work to change them. Celebrating the people who are contributing to the positive culture, who are contributing to the learning of kids, parents and volunteers who are contributing to the positive aspects of the culture. They need to be celebrated. Their stories need to be told. They need to be encouraged and supported. Because without a positive culture, the motivation, commitment, and focus oftentimes won't be there. Over the last really 15 years, even before No Child Left Behind, good schools and good school districts have changed the expectations they have on teachers and schools. They've started to use more data. They've started to really focus on all of the subgroups within the school to see how they're doing. And in good schools, this has changed the culture in a positive way. It's oftentimes brought to the fore major challenges that certain groups of students are facing. It's encouraged some schools to develop a more cohesive curriculum, and in schools where they're not factories for learning but are really temples of learning, staff and parents and students and administrators have all kind of gotten on the same page, gotten a shared sense of purpose. And it's too bad that in some cases the outside pressure has been the initiator, but it's important that there's a shared sense of purpose in a school culture. almost everyone who's going to be a school principal has to go through a university program for licensure. And even the best ones, they're only a beginning, because the job is enormously complex. You know, if you imagine a high school principal with a couple thousand students and 150 staff, they're basically the mayor of a small town, with, you know, all the food services, transportation, and everything else that you know, that they have to do. So I think helping, especially helping aspiring and new principals, builds on what a university does, and helps them, you know, in a sense, hit the ground running when they take over a school. For a number of years, I've been working with, you know, aspiring leadership academies in the U.S. and abroad, and it's fantastic that here in the Houston area there are a number of these leadership academies. I think helping aspiring leaders learn kind of the ropes, helping sitting principals and superintendents and central office people learn new techniques and skills is crucially important. I mean, the whole career of principals should be you know, a learning experience, and finding ways to systematically help people develop leadership skills until they become experts and eventually retire would be you know, an important thing. And this is a great start here in Houston.